This episode is brought to you by In the Crew 512, Austin's first and only streetwear brand. If you're from Austin or even if you just love the city, make sure you check out inthecrew.com. Use the code HALFTIME for 15% off your entire order. Now, enough of me talking. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of Halftime Company. It's your boy Uncle JB, and today we have a very special guest, and I'm excited about this guest because she's going to teach me so much because I believe that she is a world-renowned flute artist and is absolutely amazing. A lot of you probably have heard of her, especially if you follow our podcast, and that is the great Nichole Thompson. How are you
Hello.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sitting down with me
It's
for
a
a little
pleasure.
bit.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for reaching out for
It is
sure.
absolutely our pleasure. And before we get started, I know Biscuit Head Nick up in Dallas.
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
to say, what's up? And he's super excited for you with everything you got going on.
Appreciate you, Nick.
We here at Halftime, we're super excited to support you and just support everything you got going on. But
Yeah.
before we get into all the good stuff about your profession,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love if you just give the family a little background about who you are, where you from, and what you're doing out here in Austin.
Yeah. All right. So my name is Nichole Thompson. I'm 23. I'm originally from Chicago. And let's see, I'm here for school.
Here for school.
So I go to UT Austin, Hook 'em Horns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it there. It's great. Just a little bit about me outside of my profession. Like, obviously I play the flute, but I love reading, love spending time with my family, love eating, love food.
Mhm.
And it's that was another big part about moving here that I was excited about. The food scene out here in Austin is just ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, love the food in Chicago, but man, it's just something different out here in Texas for real.
Chicago does got some good food.
Yes,
It does.
It does. They
But
do.
that's interesting though. You said I'm gonna take my talent to Texas.
Yeah.
Was it specifically because of UT or?
Specifically because of UT. So I actually, in the process of auditioning for grad school and all of that, I had about 5 schools in mind. So I auditioned at Manor School Music, which was my top school in New York. So I really, really, really wanted to go to New York, just because I loved working with the professor there and the school. And then also New York is known as being like the place for musicians to be at. And so I was like, okay, I got to go to New York. And then I auditioned at a couple schools in Chicago, school in Miami, and then I auditioned here. And to be honest, Texas was like the last place I wanted to go to.
Interesting.
I also did not have, probably one of my worst auditions I've ever given was actually at UT. I know, it's crazy.
Okay, so hold on. Well, walk me through this.
Yeah,
it was the last spot that you wanted to go to.
Yes.
And it was the worst audition.
The worst audition that I had. So it was almost like I was thinking okay, God, you clearly don't want me to be here in Texas. But then when I was done with auditions and started hearing back from grad schools, I ended up being waitlisted everywhere. And I was like, okay, so do you not want me to go to school? And it was really stressful because I would say I used to be very impatient. And so it was testing me. It was like God was testing me and you're going to learn to be patient and, wait. So on top of waiting, I had to wait even longer because I was waitlisted everywhere. And then the teacher at UT, Professor Ebony Thomas, who I love and adore and who I study with now, she reached out to me and was like, hey, we have a spot open for you. I'm going to take you off the wait list. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, and then I got into that school and I was like, okay, well, this is the only school that I have right now and the deadline's approaching. So I have to commit to UT. That's really my only option. And at first I was like, ugh, I didn't want to go to Texas. But then I also thought about it, I had my worst audition there. I also didn't want to go there. But the fact that, God kind of made a way for me to be there when I completely wrote off Texas once I had my audition. I was like, oh, there's no way I'm getting into this school. And then I ended up getting in. And then about a week later, I ended up getting into my top 2 schools. But I had already committed to Texas. So I was like, okay, this is intentional. I'm very much a believer in everything happens for a reason. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'll decline the other 2 schools. I already committed to UT and then moved out here.
And it was
And
I'm guessing a great decision.
It was a great decision.
It was the decision it was a door that he had opened up for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
There's so many doors that open up for us, but it's that one door.
It's that one door
we have to walk through.
Yeah. And he made sure that I walked through it because he gave me no other option after I committed.
That is so amazing. So you moved from Chicago, came down here to Texas. And I don't know too much about the UT Music School, but I believe it's really, really good.
It's really, really good.
Right?
Yes. Very competitive, but it's like healthy competition. Everybody is like, it's crazy because it's very different from what I was exposed to in my undergrad, where my undergrad, I went to Bradley University, very small school in Southern Illinois, in Peoria, Illinois. And there was about 100 music majors. And my first 2 years there, I was the only flute performance major there. So it's a very small school versus UT. I'm here with 22 other flute performance majors of various degrees, PhD, master's, undergrad.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a nice mix and it's like a healthy competition amongst all of us, which is really, really nice. And it's nice to see everybody practicing too. I wasn't used to that.
That's what I was going to say. Like, how was that transition from going to just being by yourself in a way? I mean, sure you had your instructor, but going from just being by yourself to now with 22 different people, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was a lot. I think definitely the hardest thing, which actually my teacher told me, she was like, I feel like you're coming from a school where you were a big fish in a small pond, and now you're a small fish in a big pond. And I was like, that's exactly what it is. Because I felt like, as much as I love my undergrad, I feel like I wasn't challenged as much because I almost felt like a lot of opportunities just kind of came to me, which was great, great exposure. And I think that's why, God is so intentional with where he places you, because I have so many experiences that I gained from my undergrad that I'm able to put on my resume, like winning concerto competitions, winning National Flute Association convention competitions, exposure to gigs and teaching and all of those things, and seeing how all of that prepared me to be here, which is really, really nice. But definitely was a challenge because now I have to fight for a practice room. I have to get to school like super early to get a practice room. Get in there Mind you, the music building's 6 floors. It's massive, and I still have to. It's a fight every day for parking. First of all, for parking on campus,
I'm sure it's rough.
Definitely is rough, and then getting a practice room is also rough compared to like my undergrad. I was like, walk in anytime, and I'm like, oh, my room. I had my one room that I practiced in all the time, and I was like, okay, this is my room that I'm gonna practice in. And I never had to fight for that room, but every day it's like at the UT, I'm fighting for a practice room, which is awesome because it's like everybody's practicing, and I think just playing alongside people who are also performance majors and practice as often and just listen as often are just really truly talented musicians. It's just really nice, and it's helped me a lot in my musicianship because I'm feeling challenged being here. I want to practice. I have more of a desire to be better and better myself as a musician. So yeah, definitely transition was hard at first, which is like funny because I feel like I'm finally settling in, but it's also my last semester.
Yeah, now you're just like,
and I'm about to leave.
Now,
I know, I'm about to leave. But it's definitely, it's been great being at UT for sure.
God has his funny ways of like, right when you're about to get settled and you feel comfortable, it's like, all right, it's time to move.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
Yep.
You got everything you need. You're like, wait, I just need just a little bit more time to be able to really get it.
Exactly.
He's like, nah, you got it. You good. Let's go.
Yep.
But that's amazing. I did want to ask you, so like, I understand that transition with the music wise, going from, you said Bradley to UT.
Yeah.
How was it just culturally wise? Going from Chicago, Illinois, cold, snowing, to Austin, Texas.
Very, it was hard. It was tough. And I think it's tough for me now. I feel like I really assimilated to this weather quicker than I thought. When my family moved here, it was like August, so like peak heat. I would even say September might even be peak heat for Austin. It's like July, August, September. It's just like ridiculous out here. And so when we moved, it was like 105 degrees. It was rough. But I feel like I just assimilated and adapted to this weather so quickly that when I went home for Thanksgiving break, I was like at O'Hare Airport, like, oh my gosh, I need a jacket. I'm like, this is crazy. And it's crazy because I grew up in Chicago all my life. I'm used to the blizzards, the snow, but I think being exposed to this heat man, it just did something. And now it's like, even going back for winter break, I was like, it's too cold. It's like 40 degrees. I'm like, it's too cold.
Can't do it. You're like, no, you know what? I think my body is telling me forever live somewhere warm.
Yes. I think that's exactly what my body's telling me.
That's what it's telling you.
I can't do the winters there. I really can't now. I love winter here because it's like fall. It's like Chicago fall is Texas winter. It's like the same thing.
Okay. That makes sense. And I mean, Chicago fall is beautiful too.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, shout out to my boy Gerard and his beautiful wife Bree. They just got married actually in Philly, but they live in Chicago. And when we went out to go visit them, it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And the food was great. The seafood was actually pretty good. I was surprised because I was like, okay, I was thinking pizza.
Right.
But we got this fat lobster and some steak, and I was just like,
yep.
That was it.
You know.
That was it. I was like, dang, this is the spot.
Yep.
But that's amazing though that not only you came down, your family's here too.
No, so my family's still in Chicago.
There. Okay.
Yeah, so it's really just me out here.
Okay, wow.
Which is definitely something that's been hard to like adjust to, especially because me and my family are so close.
Right.
Like I call my mom like 6 times a day. She probably sick and tired of me, but I call her about every little thing. Like, hey mom, you know, on my way to Kyle. I'm on my way to Austin.
I'm about to do this podcast.
I'm about to do this.
We're about to talk about you soon on TV.
Exactly. So,
but actually, speaking of your family,
yeah,
did you get the inspiration to play the flute from your family, or where did that inspiration come about? Like, how did you stumble upon? I want to be a flute artist.
Yeah. Man, definitely not for my family. Okay. So I played soccer. That was like sports was really big. Both my parents are born and raised in Jamaica. So like, I guess you can say speed kind of ran in the family. You know, everybody runs track and all that stuff. So I think my mom did track in high school. My dad did a lot of running, in like Kingston, Jamaica, which is where he's from. But, for me, I like really got close to like soccer. Soccer was like my sport. And so I played soccer for about 11 years, played a majority of my life. I started when I was 6. And then freshman year of my high school career, I tore my ACL in a game and my meniscus. And yeah, that was rough. And during that recovery period, I mean, I had always played flute at the time. I started playing flute when I was 10 years old. Just joined band because it's like you have that, before you join band, you get to choose like, I think in 4th grade when you're 9, 10 years old, your middle school or your elementary school will show you the instruments you want to try out. Mm-hmm. And so I joined, you know, I played my flute, but I didn't practice because I know I wanted to play soccer until that injury happened. And it was a 9 to 10 month recovery period. So I was doing PT, physical therapy for 7 months. I had surgery. And then after I healed, I did go back to soccer, but it was definitely tougher because I had to wear a brace and everything. But during that 9, 10 month recovery period, because, you know, I wasn't playing soccer anymore, I just really gravitated to just like listening to music. I've always listened to music, but like listening to more classical music and just like movie scoring. Love Hans Zimmer. I want to say like Hans Zimmer probably is what really got me. Okay. I listen to just any movie soundtrack he has. He's just incredible. One of my favorite composers like of all time. And I was listening to his music and I was like doing homework. And I just remember like, I don't know, just something was just like, wow, like I just would love to be a part of just an orchestra and playing with these people who are playing this epic, amazing music. And so that was when, during that like recovery period from tearing my ACL, that was when I was like listening to more classical. And that was when I decided like, okay, maybe music is something a route that I want to take. And then after that, I started taking lessons and then applied for undergrad and then applied to grad school. And now I'm here.
Now you're here. God's a funny way of rerouting everyone to what you, and it was almost like you fell in love with it. And then it was just like, you poured into that purpose. And first off, it makes sense why you love Texas if your family is from Jamaica. I know. You got that warm blood in you. So you're like, your body was just like, oh, I'm home in a way, you know? So it's like, I don't want to go back. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But second though, it's I kind of went through something similar to where I tour almost everything in my right
wow.
knee,
Yeah.
ACL, MCL, meniscus, hamstring.
Oh my gosh.
In high school.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I still was like, no, this is what I'm gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up still going to college to run track and play football.
Yeah.
Played football for a year and a half, and then just finished out with track.
Mm-hmm.
But that whole time, I thought like, hey man, this is my purpose.
Right.
But little did I know my purpose was gonna be this, cameras and filming. And when I look back in my life, I'm like, where did you even plant that seed, man? Like, where did that even come from?
Yeah.
And he's like, do you not remember how excited you were when you would go watch your mom? Because my mom would do local plays at a theater in a small town of Rosenberg.
Yeah.
And I was like 5 or 6, so I barely have the memories.
Mm-hmm.
But I would remember her do that. And I remember saying out loud, like, I want to produce something like this one day. I forgot it.
Yeah.
But God didn't forget
it. Man.
You know? So I just think it's so cool how even though you went through like a tragedy, right, with soccer, there was this door and this pathway that he had already laid out and planned for you, but it was through that tragedy for him to get you there.
Exactly.
So I just think that, you know, sometimes, again, I tell people all the time, you know, you take 2 steps back to take 10 steps forward.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful how God can, he can see everything. So just the orchestra of life in a way is beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's just that's very exciting.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. So now that we're on the topic of talking about your profession, I have questions.
Yeah.
So first off, how in the world do you mimic or play some of the songs you do? When I hear Lil Baby, or I hear some of these, I'm literally genuinely confused. Like, do you like just listen to it and play it, or do you like print it out and like have to look at the notes, or like, because it is absolutely mind bending to be like, all right, she's about to play the flute, and in my head, I'm thinking it's gonna be something classical, or something smooth, or something like, you know, just a flute, like, cool. But then I'm over here singing a song, I'm like, hold on, wait, she playing. How did that come about?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think it just goes back to my love of like movie music and film music. And I think, man, I don't even know how I come up with the ideas that I do sometimes. Like, I love listening to instrumentals. Love listening, especially like Lil Baby just got some fire beats. And like, that's why people are like, you always do Lil Baby. Because his beats are just really good. Shout out to whoever doing his beats, because my goodness. So I think my whole like process of it is mainly like, I'll listen to an instrumental that I like, and then I'll just like sing like, or like how I'd want to play it. So like, I'll be like, and I'm like, okay, wait. And then I got to figure out the key as well. So I listen to the bass, what chords are being played at the bottom. And then that's how I decide what key. So that's where my classical kind of comes in handy. You know, knowing your scales is important. Knowing your scales and practicing your scales is important. And figure out the bass, figure out what the melody, what key it's in. And then I just like experiment with different ideas. And then I try and figure out where I want to put these specific ideas throughout the instrumental. And then I hit record, and then it probably takes me about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. It takes a long time, like a long time.
Excuse me, that is not a long time to freestyle.
I know, and for a freestyle, I always say like, I feel like it takes a long time for a freestyle, because it's like, okay, it's supposed to be off the dome. And it is off the dome. It's like my ideas that are like not off the dome, but like orchestrated in a specific, you know, way. But freestyle is just a nice way to put it. But it's really improvisation. But I like to put freestyle since I'm doing like hip hop and rap beats and things like that. So
you know, you absolutely are freestyling.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting back and I'm just like, I also saw you did like the beat challenge, right?
Yeah.
Where you did that. And I thought that was absolutely genius. I mean, to see so many different people from different backgrounds.
Oh my goodness.
Add to that, like, how'd that make you feel?
And that was truly insane. I think I've only done maybe 4 beat challenges. I should be doing more because they always like blow up. But that was my most well-known one. That one has about over 30 million views on TikTok, and over 400 people submitted like entries into it. And I just kind of, man, I was just going through all of them, reposting, and then I posted my favorites. But I mean, it's just like, that's one aspect of social media that I just love, is how you can just connect with so many different musicians.
Yeah.
You don't even know, I didn't even know it was going to blow up. I didn't know I was going to see this, and just the type of people who were, adding their own twist to what I had put.
Right.
And like, that stuff is just so, it's just mind blowing to me, for sure.
Yeah, it's like that wasn't even your intent for it to blow
Not
up,
at all.
but it was like, again, when you're living in your purpose and your passion, and it's aligned with what God, wants in your life, you're gonna touch 30 million people.
Exactly.
Girl, that is so dope.
Yeah, I think probably this was probably like my biggest testimony was when I first got out here, and when I got my first opportunity performing my freestyles. So when I first moved to Austin, that was August 2024, I was like, man, I don't know if God wants me to be here. I didn't make the ensemble that I wanted to in school. And it just felt, I was just like doubting so much. I was doubting my purpose. I was doubting what God had planned for me. But I was like, I still stayed firm and like, okay, you have me here for a reason, because you made sure I didn't go to any other school. So it has to be here. And I think September was when I remembered that one of my favorite YouTubers, Berleezy, he has his ball, and it was going to be in Dallas, Texas. And I was like, oh my gosh, talk about timing, because I'm now in Texas, it'd be closer than, from flying from Chicago. It's just a drive. And so I had actually bought tickets for the event over the summer. So I had planned to go because I was like, okay, I'm going to be in Texas anyways. And then I remembered he had a talent show. And so I submitted one of my freestyles, actually the first one where I actually learned how to mix. And so that I can get better sound on beats wise, and then also on my audio. And so I used that one just because that one, I feel like that one really represents me, and just me really taking my freestyle seriously. And so I took that video. It's maybe not even 60 seconds long. And I submitted it, and then found out I was a semifinalist. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It's becoming real. And so because I was a semifinalist, I got to be on stream with my favorite YouTuber, with a ton of other my favorite YouTubers who were also judging. And I was like, this is it was just so insane. And I remember the day of the talent show, when we were on stream on Discord or on Twitch, I was looking at I was reading my Bible, and it brought me to my favorite verse: trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. That's Proverbs 3:5-6. And then when I went to church that morning, because it was on a Sunday, he was also, the preacher was talking about that. And then he was also saying talking about new opportunities and all this stuff. And I just had a feeling, I just had a good feeling before I went into that live stream, that Twitch live stream. And then went and, introduced myself. And I was my heart was racing out my chest, because I was like, this is my favorite YouTuber. I've been watching Berleezy for maybe 12 years. So I've been watching him forever. And to see him be not really face to face, but face to face virtually, right, and talking with him and engaging with him was just so surreal. So they played my video, that freestyle. And I believe they selected probably 20, around 16, 20 semifinalists out of over 500 entries. And I was like, that's just insane. And then at the end, I know, and then at the end, once I heard my name as one of the winners, because they picked 3 winners, I was just screaming. My mom was calling, because my mom was watching the stream, or my mom and dad were watching the stream. My sister was watching it while she was at school. My aunt's watching it, family in Jamaica watching it. Everybody was watching it. And I'm sitting in my apartment by myself screaming. I'm sorry to my neighbors, because I'm just,
I made it.
I know. And that happened maybe the first month of me being here. And I think that really kind of made me settle in of okay, this is where God wants me to be. And this was that reassurance that I needed from God, that I knew that, he wasn't going to fail me. I'm here for a reason. And just trusting in that. And so, yeah, having that opportunity, and then performing at the ball that next month in October 2024, and just meeting so many people and just building so many connections with, you know, Berlisi's community, and just being on that stage. It just like, obviously I was nervous. Like people were like, oh, you didn't look nervous. I was, man, my heart was pounding out my chest, but it was just like, I think I was feeding off of the crowd's energy too, because they were hyping me up. And so that made me a lot more comfortable, but I just felt so comfortable on stage. And I was just like, this is, you know, this is something that God wants me to do. This is, you know, perform and just outreach, you know, through music, you know, and that was never something that I thought, you know, God would do with my life at all.
I think that's that video, I think, that you got standing ovation, right?
Yes, that's that video. Yeah,
I remember,
it was insane.
One of my favorite streamers, I think, is I'm Dante.
Yeah.
He was hyped.
Yeah.
He was hyping that. He was hyping
yeah,
that video.
when I met him, I was like, you're Dante. It's crazy. It's
that
crazy.
It's so beautiful to know that if you would have went to the top 2 schools on your list, the better schools, right? You probably wouldn't have bought that ticket because you weren't in Texas.
Yeah.
And if you didn't buy a ticket, then you probably wouldn't have thought of the talent show.
Right.
And so it's like all those little small things.
Everything.
Right? All those little small things added up to where, boom, I'm going to catapult you now.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
it was like better than, it's just crazy how God works, because I had bought my ticket for, it was a 2-night event. So I bought my ticket for Saturday night and then the hotel stay. And Saturday night include the talent show and then like the actual bar or ball. And then God, like how that worked was like, when I won the talent show, they paid for my hotel, flew me out there. So I had a flight from from Austin to Dallas, quick little 30-minute flight. And then I got to attend both nights. So it was just crazy how God works. He took that opportunity, or basically that opportunity, and he just took it to a bigger picture where I'm not only there the whole time, but I'm also there doing my purpose and doing something that's related to my career. It's almost like a business trip for me. You know, he turned it into like it's just insane how God works. It's because I never would have thought that. And then just the opportunities after that. I had my first magazine interview with the Flute View, which was insane. And then getting that brand ambassadorship with Flutistry. Shout out Flutistry. Just everything that has followed that really just cemented that I think this is where God wants me to be. Staying in Austin. I feel like a majority of my connections are here as well. And even just getting into teaching. I've always loved working with kids, and so being able to work with kids and also play my flute, it's like magic, because that's like two things that I love just in one, you know. And yeah, just how God has orchestrated everything is just leading me closer and closer to him, and closer and closer to stepping into the opportunities that he has prepared for me. So,
and it's so cool because like we really don't even know and can't even comprehend like the plans that God actually has for us.
We can't.
You know? and so he just asks us to trust and align our heart with his, and he'll give us all of our desires. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's beautiful to watch him do that in your life, like in real time.
Yeah.
You know? And so, and it's also nice that you're acknowledging that, because some people, you know, they get blessed. I mean, the rain is gonna fall on every roof.
On every,
you know, so, you know, if you're getting blessed, some people might say, oh, well, I'm getting blessed because of me, my good deeds, or because of the stuff that I'm doing. But you're clearly saying, no, it's because of him.
Yeah.
And I love that, because like another thing too, like you correct me if I'm wrong, but like you play with Michael Prince here in Texas, right?
Yes.
Like maybe that relationship would have worked out if you were out in New York.
Yeah,
right.
It definitely wouldn't have.
But to see how y'all actually, 'cause I got a chance to go to y'all's events as well, and with Hood Orchestra, and see how y'all play with Tyrone as well. Like beautiful. And it's just so awesome to see collaboration like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's different in other places. Maybe you can speak to it, but you know, how has that collaboration been with just other influencers or other people within the arts?
Yeah.
Here in Texas.
Yeah, I think it's just been amazing. Shout out to the homies Michael and Tyrone. Like, I think another part of me like getting into flute improvising and like flute freestyling was actually violinists. It wasn't, because not many flutists, I mean, if flutes are improvising, it's jazz, blues, you know, typical things like that. And so, but violinists, I've seen so many violin covers, people doing their own twists on stuff. And I think watching those videos online really was like, oh, like, well, if they can do it on violin, I can do it on flute.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's how I got into flute freestyling. And then moving here and meeting Michael Prince, and because we had followed each other from before, but actually meeting with him and like making music with him, that is the first time I've ever done that with anybody, you know? And so genuinely, it's just crazy. And him being out here too, and then also Tyrone also being in Texas. It's like everybody's in Texas, you know?
Yep.
It's always bigger in Texas. That's what everybody always says. It's always bigger and better in Texas. And I truly believe that too. But yeah, just the opportunities to work with them and make music with them, because it truly is like being on stage and doing this by myself and like recording in my room, like, you know, that stuff is like, you know, I still have fun with it. That's why I do it. But being on stage with other people who are also doing the same thing, where you guys have a common interest, it just fills my heart, like genuinely. Yeah. And they're great people. And like also, I think another thing too that's important too is that their background, like us being Black musicians too, because, you know, usually, at least in the classical field, when you're playing a classical instrument like violin or flute, you're, you know, the first thing, and I think that's what, I guess, moving to Austin has really helped me learn. I was so one-track minded with going into an orchestra, playing an orchestra. I want to be a full-time orchestra member. But there's also the reality of it's going to be you versus 600 people for one spot in that orchestra. You know, and it's not just 600 people in Texas, it's 600 people globally around the world who fly in for this one opportunity. And so seeing that as a, like, really like kind of sitting with that, and then also realizing like, maybe I love orchestral music and I would love to play in an orchestra, but I feel like moving here has really broadened my horizons of things outside of orchestra. Because when you're playing a classical instrument, it's always like, you're going to orchestra, that's the path you're going to take. But you can play an orchestra, you can teach, you can do random gigs here and there. Social media, even, just how big it's gotten. Like, you can do things on social media. There's so many different avenues. You can be a social ambassador. You can be a marketer for an orchestra. There's so many other avenues within music that don't get talked about, which I definitely wish that more people would talk about, especially in like higher education and college and in grad school, because usually it's always a one-track route to orchestra. And I think out here, I really am playing with Michael and playing with Tyrone and seeing that they're doing, you know, they're also playing on classical instruments, but doing something that they love that's really out of the norm is like truly inspiring. And so like meeting them and getting to work with them and share the stage with them, I mean, it's unforgettable. No,
that's
really
awesome. It's actually interesting what you just said too a minute ago about how, you know, flutist, is that how you say it?
Yes, yeah.
Like, is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, some people say flautist, and I'm like, you're just trying to be bougie. I don't play a
flout.
Exactly.
Come on now. So with a flutist, you said how there really hasn't been a lot of like improvisation. That's the right word to say.
Yeah.
And how kind of like, you know, the violinist to kind of help you kind of navigate that realm. Why do you think that's the case within the flutist space?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I want to say because mainly having that one track mind of going straight to orchestra.
Okay.
I think that's probably the biggest thing I can think of, because I've seen people do flute covers like Mask Off, for example. I mean, everybody, anytime I go live on anything or when I'm with my kids, they're like, "Oh, play Mask Off." And I'm like, all right, I just have it memorized by now. I can just bust it out really quick. But I think just the one track mind of just like going straight into orchestra. I think that's probably why I haven't seen many flutists do improvisation outside of the classical music, the usual Bach and Mozart and all those things. I think I also like really love any jazz flute, any jazz. I've never tapped into jazz, but I think any jazz flutist, I think that's also another inspiration that I had for like improvising on flute. I think improvising jazz-wise is very, very difficult. I might even say it's probably harder than what I do, only because the key changes so often and all of that. And so that's definitely something I want to dive into more, just to expand my genres and all of that. But, I think just the orchestral route is like definitely the biggest thing, roadblock. I would even call it a roadblock for some people because, some people want that all their life and are closed off to any other opportunity around them. You're so one track minded. And I think I was like, and I can, attest to this because I was one track minded. I only wanted to do orchestra. And then when I came out here, God really broadened my horizons with multiple opportunities,
Yes.
And so I think that's what's probably stopping flutists. And I think there's always like this, there's always like stereotypes for every like instrument. And so I feel like flutists are always more like, we're better than everybody else. So, we're the best in orchestra, And so I think that also plays a part. But yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I guess you wouldn't think that playing an instrument that you would have horse blinders on.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
You would think that you would try to explore, but I guess you're exploring a lot through the arts, through Mozart, through different composers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're not necessarily thinking outside the box. But it's beautiful how you said too earlier when it comes to like, Black musicians. Let's just be honest. There's a lot of flavor that we like to put into some stuff, we like to add some spices to things.
Do, yeah.
Throughout time, you see that.
Oh, absolutely.
You see a genre, and then you see how Black people are in that genre. That's how it is.
Yes.
And I remember the first time that I heard, who was it? It was Michael Prince. First time I heard him playing the violin, it was almost the same reaction that I had to you. And he was how I got introduced to you.
Yeah.
And it was just like, hold on, I've never heard somebody do that before.
I know.
And it just opened my mind up to a whole new world. And it's like, well, duh.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing this?
Right.
So I just think that it's so cool that you have said, hey, you know what? Let me trailblaze this.
Oh, yeah.
There might not be that many people in my field that do this.
Right.
But because I'm so passionate and I love this instrument, I'm going to work with a violinist. I'm going to work with a saxophone player. I'm going to work with different people, and I'm going to listen to instrumentals, and I'm going to break it all the way down and see how I can, in a way, create my own orchestra through this instrument.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I feel like I'm hearing you say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, and I definitely think not seeing Black flutists definitely played a part in why I was also closed-minded, and so one-track minded on orchestra. I mean, I've had all white flutist teachers, and then actually at UT, Professor Ebony Thomas, she's a Black flutist.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, oh man, I love that woman. She's like, honestly, I love her so much. But she is really like, she loves what I do on social media and is very like, Nichole, did you post a video today? Or,
she on you.
Like, are you making money off of this? Make sure you get your money, make sure they run you your check. Like, she's on me about that. And I love that. And also she's like younger too. A lot of the previous teachers that I've had, which I've learned so much from, are much older. And they wouldn't really understand social media as much.
Gotcha.
So I think that also played a big part in why I was also just one track minded on that. And freestyling was just a side thing. I only picked it up because of COVID, and I was bored and we didn't have band. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll just, dabble in this.
It's crazy how COVID, because I started this podcast during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy how as soon as everybody sat their asses down,
yes,
all of a sudden a whole bunch of creativity came through. If that don't tell you something, just sit down for a second. Just be still.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure God said be still sometimes, man.
Yes.
So it's beautiful that you said that, because me and Nick were literally in our apartment talking, and it was like, man, that was a good conversation. And we were like, he was like, we should record these and start doing podcasts. I was like, you know what? You're right. We ain't doing that.
Right.
You can't go outside. So let's start a podcast.
Yeah.
So it's just funny that you're like, you know what? Let me just Let me start
Oh yeah.
freestyling.
Oh yeah.
You know, let me
COVID was a time for creativity, I feel like.
It really
Absolutely.
was. It just creativity flowed through because everybody was finally just sitting down and just like finally
Yep.
got a chance to look at themselves and say, hey, you know what? What do I want to do?
Yeah. That's
what it was. It was a time
Yes.
where it's like, what do I want to do?
Right.
If you didn't necessarily fall into the world is ending.
Yeah.
And you just say, hey, I'm just going to do what I need to do every single day.
Right.
I'm going to put my faith, trust in the Lord.
Right.
Everything's going to be fine.
Yep.
It was a time for you to sit down and reflect and be able to redirect. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the world was quiet.
Yeah.
And everybody was in their little,
Yep.
doing their thing.
Yes.
So
I know. I think it was so intentional too, because I mean, it's heartbreaking how many lives were lost during COVID.
Yes.
But also seeing the after effects after COVID and like even during COVID, just like the creativity that came about. And then also like going back to like God just wanted everybody to be still, because I think the biggest thing, you know, the enemy's here to kill, steal, and destroy, but I also think he's here to distract.
Yes.
You know, and so we get so caught up with everything that's going on in the world that we forget, you know, who's given us breath into our lungs, you know, and just acknowledging that. And so I definitely think God was like, y'all need to relax. Like, remember who God is, you know?
Well, now I'm looking back on 2021. I'm like, maybe he was trying to tell us to relax because it's about to get crazy out
Right,
here.
exactly. Exactly. Maybe he was preparing us for the times of now.
Sit down real quick, which I'm about to get ready to go through. It's about to be, you know, hold on. But no, you know, speaking of that, I did want to ask you, you know, we like to ask every guest, you know, these couple questions. You know, what's something in the world today that you want to bring awareness to?
Yeah. Wow. I think I'm gonna think musically. I think just the representation of Black artists, especially with, you know, people trying to get rid of DEI and things like that. I think what I mainly would like to bring awareness to with just what I put out there is just letting people know that Black people can accomplish literally anything they put their mind to, just like anybody else, you know? And I feel like because, you know, being Black, we're already looked at, we're already, you know, kind of targeted in a way by society, and already inferior to a lot of people, because of society norms and things like that. And so just bringing awareness to trusting God through the process of struggles, and also keeping your faith, and also knowing that you were born with your skin color for a reason as well. I think that was one thing that I had to learn too, after, you know, everybody has the talk, every Black person has the talk, but like, really stepping into like what it really means to be Black, you know, and what comes along with that, you know, based off of society. And so I just want to highlight just the importance of diversity especially within the classical field. And so being somebody, you know, who plays a classical instrument, still, you know, getting my master's and being classically trained, but also doing something that's off brand or not norm, you know, and dabbling in different things. So I just want to definitely just inspire other Black musicians that, you know, you can do anything you put your mind to within the classical music. And yeah, especially because like classical music, there's a lot of like, not a lot of funding actually for like fine arts and a lot of programs in some schools. I know at least here it's been really nice, but I know some schools in different states where, you know, they get rid of band programs or choir programs. And those are things, fine arts is definitely something that's needed for any student. Because I'm sure anybody
100%.
played some type of instrument or did some type of singing somewhere in their life. And it's really beneficial for, you know, just you really learn the discipline within being a musician. And then you can apply that to any other aspect in your, within whatever field. So yeah, I definitely want to just like bring awareness to the need for representation for Black people specifically in the fine arts program for sure. And just being a voice and being able to inspire people.
That's absolutely beautiful. And I think that you are being used by God to show that as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'll be honest, you're the first Black flutist player I've ever seen. Or just flutist.
Yeah.
I have seen. I'm being honest.
Yeah. And you're not the first person to tell me that, surprisingly. Yeah.
So, and it's, I came across your page with 2024, 2025. So I'm finding that in 2024, 2025, that's the first time I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that is important because in so many areas and in so many ways, Black people don't go into certain areas until we see that representation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You think about Serena Venus Williams.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. You think about that. You think about other Black women that have paved the way in other industries and other spaces. And to your point, fine arts is essential.
Oh yeah.
It's nobody was created or born to work in a corporate space.
Correct.
We weren't made to be in a box or at a cubicle. No, we were made to express something. We were made to express a version of who God is. Every last human being. And so it's beautiful that you're saying that. But not only that, like, let's take the time to appreciate Black people and their greatness within this classical field because it hasn't been necessarily acknowledged. And we all know that. Let's not be naive to it. You know, it took, I'll go back to Serena Venus Williams a long time. It took Tiger Woods a long time. Even the Black golfers that came before Tiger Woods that nobody would necessarily even recognize. You know, so again, the excellence is always there. It's just not appreciated as much. It is what it is. Yeah. But I think deep down, as it always has been, history remembers our name.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think history is going to remember your name because you are doing some amazing things in this life, and your purpose is going to go so beyond what you possibly can imagine. And we here at Halftime are just appreciative just to have you here at the set. You know, just to have you here is a blessing for us. So we can't thank you enough. And before, you know, we wrap up and get out of here, just want to ask you before, like we always do, what's one last message you want to give to your followers, to our family, to anybody listening to the podcast today?
Ooh, one last message. Trusting in God will never fail you. God will never fail you. Keeping a strong relationship with Him, I think, is like the key for anything in life. Being open to what He has planned for you, because we always are one-track minded on some things, but you know, God has some doors that you don't even know He's preparing you to open yet. You know, He's ready. He has these doors ready for you, you know? So I think being open to any opportunity, and being flexible, you have to be flexible for that. But yeah, when you keep God at the center of your life, I think there'll just be a peace that you have in the midst of all the struggles that you're faced, because we're only human. You know, life isn't perfect, so we're going to go through things. But I think the peace that God gives us through the times of struggle is beneficial for us as human beings and just in life. And just be open to the doors that He has for you. Be open to the opportunities that probably scare you the most, because sometimes the scariest opportunities are the ones you're supposed to look into. So, you know, just trust God and be open to what He has in store for you.
I hope y'all hear that. Like she said, some of the most beautiful things on the opposite side of fear. And you have to be flexible.
Yes.
Like a rubber band, like a fresh new rubber band out the pack. You gotta understand that God got a big wrist.
Yes.
And he gonna try to stretch that thing out. I'm just saying, as long as you on His wrist, you have nothing to worry about, because you in His hand. So again, Nichole, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Man, we are so excited for you. And again, I'm gonna put all her information. Please give her a follow. Check out anything she has coming up, and we will make sure that we promote it and we push it on our platform. So with that said, Halftime family, we thank y'all. We love y'all. We out.